Hi guys, welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you're not. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on my Hexagon cardigan. I got a lot of good feedback and just like a lot of people liked it, so I'm going to be doing a tutorial on that. This time it's going to be a Pastel Goth version, and this time I'm also not going to close up the front. I'm going to make it an actual cardigan. I'm going to make it a little more oversized, a little longer because a few people wanted that, but I'm going to show you guys like where to stop if you want to do it the way I did it before. So this is the cardigan I made before, or sweater I guess, and I really love the way it came out. Lots of people seem to like it. Got this little yin yang over here, just over my little alien buddy, an eye, mushroom, and a smiley face. Alright, so for this tutorial you're going to need a 5.5mm crochet hook. My original sweater was with a 5mm, but I wanted to work it up a little bit quicker in order to make this tutorial for you guys. So I'm going to use a 5.5 for this cardigan, the Pastel Goth one. So if you like the size and how quick that works up, fine. If you want to do a 5mm, you can do that too. You're going to need some scissors. You're going to need measuring tape. You're going to need a few of these. You're going to need a tapestry needle to sew the squares to your cardigan. And yeah, and then you're going to also need 3 different yarn colors of your choosing. You can do as many or as little as you want. You don't even have to switch colors if you don't want to. I just like the way it looks. And the ones that I'm going to be doing for the goth portion are going to be this black, just because we are going for the pastel goth look. I think I'm going to stick with this, but I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm also going to be doing gray, and I'm going to be doing white. And for the pastel portion, as you can see, I have these 3 colors. So this is Sugar Rush by Big Twist. I really love this color. I think it's super cute. This color is Popsicle, also by Big Twist. And the white is Ice Cream Cake, I believe. Yes, also by Big Twist. I really love Big Twist. I love the texture, I love the colors. 10 out of 10 recommend using this. Alright, so to get started, we're going to be starting with this portion here and then working our way around. And this will basically be forming this kind of L shape that we've got going on. So this is the portion that's going to be against your body. This is the portion that's going to be your sleeve. So I made this pretty long, just because my other one pretty much fit quite snug, and I just wanted to have kind of a more oversized feel. We're going to do a magic circle. And you're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Then we're going to do 2 more double crochet into the magic circle. That's 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochet. Once you've done so this will be 3 total, and we're going to be working in clusters like this. So once your first cluster is done, you're going to chain 2 and do an additional 5 clusters into magic circle. So you're going to do a cluster, chain 2, a cluster, chain 2, a cluster, chain 2, until you reach 6 total clusters and 6 chain 2s. That's 2. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. I like this yarn with like the flecks of color. I just think it's so cute. Alright, so that's 1 cluster, 1 set of chain 2, 2 cluster, 2 sets of chain 2, 3 clusters, 3 sets of chain 2 so far. So we're going to need to do 3 more of this exact same. So let's go ahead and keep going. It's the 4th cluster, and the 4th chain 2, the 5th cluster, of course there's dog hair. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got chain 2, and 1 more cluster into that magic circle, and chain 2. Perfect. So once you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are going to be corners. As you can see, they're already getting pointy. So once you've done all 6, you're going to pull this tail to close your magic circle. Make sure it's really tight. Perfect. Then we're going to slip stitch into the top of this chain 3. Perfect. You're going to want to make sure you are, I hate weaving in my ends. I absolutely hate weaving them, so I basically just crochet them in throughout my entire project. So we're just going to keep this tail going with us and crocheting over it as we go. So for each start of your round, you're going to chain 3, and you're going to go back into this chain 2 space right behind the chain 3 that we slip stitch it into. So you're going to go backwards for your first cluster. So you're going to go into this chain 2 space, make 2 double crochet, and we are not going to chain 2 now because we're moving on to a corner. So once we move from one space to another, we don't chain 2. That's only when you're in one corner. So I'll show you as we go along. But so this time we will not be chaining 2. We're going directly into the next one with 3 double crochet. So we're going to put a cluster in there, making sure to crochet over that tail. And now we're going to chain 2 and put another cluster into this corner. So for corners, it's always going to be cluster, chain 2, cluster. And as you move to a different space, you're not going to chain 2. You're just going to move to it and put a cluster in there. That's what we're doing here. We move to the next stitch, or the next chain 2 space, and we made a cluster now. Now we're chaining 2 to make another corner. So for this round, each corner space will continue to be a corner space. But as you can see now, we have an additional space here. So that's how we'll be increasing, by making these corner spaces. Those are basically our increases, and these are, you'll see as we go along how it comes together and how much more it'll make sense. Alright, so since we're moving on to a different space, we are now going to make our cluster directly into that space. Chain 2, another cluster into that same chain 2 space. And if I'm moving a little fast, there is a playback speed option on the YouTube website. Basically the little 3 dots, I believe, or I'm not sure where, like right corner. It should allow you to slow down the playback speed or speed it up if I'm not going fast enough. Okay, so we've only got 1, 2, and then our last chain space. So now we're moving on. Cluster, chain 2, cluster. Chain 2, cluster. Move on to the next corner space, cluster. Chain 2, cluster. Now, once we reach our end corner space here, we have our 1 cluster already. We're going to go in with another cluster. Then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 that we began with. Alright, so this is what you should have so far. 6 little points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are our 6 corners, hence the hexagon. Now we're going to switch our yarn color. So what I like to do is go from dark to light. So I'm going to go to my gray color next. And I just leave a little bit of a tail, not too long, but just enough that I can crochet it in and not worry about it coming apart. Alright. This is my gray color. How I like to attach my yarn, just to not leave too many knots everywhere, I like to, once I still pulled through the slip knot and everything, the slip stitch, my bad, I grab my gray yarn and I just pull that through and then pull down on the previous yarn to make sure it's nice and tight on there and it's not going to come out. And then I do go ahead and tie these together and then just crochet over it to kind of hide the knot, and not really, you don't end up really feeling it at all. You have your 2 little tails and you're just going to crochet over them I just cannot stand weaving them in, so we're going to chain 3, going back into this chain 2 space and double crocheting twice to make our cluster. Cool. And just kind of position it so that it looks good, doesn't look too bad. There we go. So there's our first cluster of the round, and this is our space between corners that I was kind of trying to mention earlier. So in these spaces in between corners, we are just going to make a cluster, just one cluster, nothing else. Okay, and then we're going to move on to our corner, and that's where we'll do our cluster, chain 2 cluster. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, another cluster, 1, 2, and 3. So there is our corner. Okay, and this will be a corner space. So you should have a corner space, a regular chain 2 space, and another corner space all the way around. We're just going to repeat that pattern all the way till we reach the end. So I'm going to do a cluster into this chain 2 space. And then we're going to do cluster, chain 2 cluster for our corner spaces. Alright, next space is a regular chain 2 space, so just one cluster. Next space is a corner space, which means we're making a corner, which means cluster, chain 2, cluster. So you can see it's kind of building up. Now we're going to have 2 chain spaces in between each corner, and it will keep growing as we go along. The next space is a regular chain 2 space, it's just a cluster. The next space is a corner space, a cluster, chain 2, cluster. Next space is a regular chain 2 space. And how you can tell the difference, clearly this is a corner, clearly this is a corner. These are clearly chain 2 spaces in between. So this is a chain 2 space, just one cluster. Next space is a corner, so one cluster, chain 2 cluster. Next space is a regular chain 2 space, just a cluster. Last space, we're just doing our cluster chain 2 and then slip stitching into the top of this chain 3. So cluster, chain 2, not cluster, slip stitch. Alright, so that is the end of row 3. We will just continue this process all the way along until you find your measurements. So the way that I like to measure is you'll fold this in half, and with time this will get bigger quite fast. But basically, if you're looking at it like this, like an L, this is your sleeve, this is your body. You're going to want to measure, and I'll do this again when it gets bigger, but you're going to want to measure this way. Right now it's about 1.5 inches. I personally like a 9-inch sleeve circumference width from here to here, which means total 18. So basically I recommend putting on a loose fitting t-shirt, measuring the sleeve, and seeing if you like that sleeve size, using that sleeve size, crocheting until you reach that sleeve size. Once it's like this and it's from here to here, the sleeve size that you want. But the 9 inches should fit a large to extra large comfortably. So yeah, I'm going to keep going. So starting row 4, we're going to chain 3. We're going to double crochet twice in this corner space. Now we have 2 regular spaces between our corners, so we're just going to cluster into each of those. Now we've reached a corner space. We're going to cluster, to chain 2, cluster, and that's just the pattern the entire way around, so I'll meet you at the end. So I'm now at the end of row 4. As you can see, it's kind of bunching up a little bit, that's fine. Don't worry about it if it is. I'm now at my final corner space, so I'm going to cluster. Chain 2, and slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 space. And we're going to cut a small tail, not very long. I'd say this is like 3 inches or so. These scissors aren't the best, but like I said, you're going to just slip stitch, and then you're going to basically do the same thing. Just slip stitch through that. Pull on the yarn from the previous round, round 4. And now we're just going to tie these together. Just a little knot. I always double knot it just to make sure it doesn't come apart. Pull real tight. And we're ready to begin round 5. Okay, same thing. Chain 3, double crochet 2 into this corner space. Now we should have 1, 2, 3 spaces in between each corner space. So let me double check here. We got 1, 2, 3 corner space. We got 1, 2, 3 corner space. 1, 2, 3 corner space. 1, 2, 3 corner space. 1, 2, and 3 corner space. Okay, cool. So we're going to be, for this round, it's going to be 3 clusters, corner space, 3 clusters, corner space, and it's basically just growing as you keep going. It's just going to keep adding 1 space per round. So you're just going to keep going clusters, corner, all the way until you reach your desired measurements. So I'm going to go ahead and crochet until I've gotten my 9 inches. When I measure from here to here, or from here to here, but not from here to here, because this is a longer measurement. So you want to make sure you're measuring from here to here, or from here to here, same thing. Alright, so once I reach my 9 inches, I will come back, and I will show you guys where to go from there. Alright, so I have come to the end of my rows. So in total, it's been 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 rows total. And I'm just going to measure just to show you guys how big it is. So we've got my 9 inches here, and it's going to be the same on this side too. I'll lay it flat. There we go, 9 inches. So now that we're at 9 inches, I'm going to show you guys how to join. Obviously your measurements may be different, but I wanted mine to be at 9 inches, so we basically got to do 3 sets of 2 rows each of each color, and now we are going to join. So I'm going to use the same color that I finished on to join, so this is how I like to join. So I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to grab this corner. So as you can see, I've folded it so I have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going from 1, 2, 3 to 4 and putting 4 onto 1, and that's how I'm getting my L shape, okay? So after I've chained 2, we're grabbing this one that matches up here, this corner stitch, and we're going to go in from the back, so like this, and we're going to pull through and slip stitch. Alright, and then we're going to go back into this corner stitch and make 2 more double crochet. And we are not going to go back into the same one, we're actually going to go into the next space between our cluster stitches. So we're going to go into the next one from the back and slip stitch again. And so basically this is going to just have your clusters be lining up with one another. I just like to make it this way personally, and we're just basically going to be cluster stitching across and then slip stitching into the next space. So cluster stitch into this next space down here, and then slip stitching into the next space up here. And as you can see, it's going to leave like a seamless look when we're done. So next space, we're going to cluster stitch. And that's just 3 double crochet. And into the next stitch on this side, we're going in through the back, yarning over, pulling through, and slip stitching. So I'm just going to do that all the way across. Alright, so we're going to slip stitch into this corner space, and then we're going to do our regular cluster here, and we are going to slip stitch back into the same corner. It doesn't look weird, it looks perfectly normal, and that is it. So once you've finished this step, you are going to cut your yarn, leave a small tail, and then we are going to move on to the sleeve. So this is where your shoulder is going to be and your arm. So we've got to keep going this way around. So you're going to attach your yarn. I'm going to keep going in this same pattern. So black, gray, white. So my next color is black. Do the same joining that I have been. Now to do this row, we are just going to keep going all the way around. There's not going to be any more corner spaces. You're going to chain 3, 2 double crochet into this same space. And you're just going to cluster stitch this entire row until you reach the end. Okay? Just cluster stitches in each space. Okay, so I'm now about to reach the end of my row. Okay, so this is my last cluster stitch of this round. And now that I'm done, I'm just gonna slip stitch into the top of this chain 3. And then basically you're gonna repeat this where you just chain 3, double crochet 2 in the same space, and then cluster stitch all the way around. And once you do your 2 rows, then you can switch colors if that's what you're doing, just like me. Otherwise, you just continue this pattern. Alright, so now that we are done with our sleeve, let me show you where we're at. So it starts here. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each section is 6 total rows, and each color has 2 rows. So we have 3 total sections, which means we have 18 total rows. And that's where I finished. You obviously can make it as short or as long as you want, to your desired measurements. But my sleeve should measure the 18 inches, I believe, that we measured on the other sleeve. Let me just double check here. Yeah, so we are at a total of 18 inches. From the armpit to the end, and then we will be doing ribbing along this. That will be later. Now we're going to focus on, so now that we finished this whole sleeve, shoulder, let me zoom out a little, finish the whole sleeve. So we're now going to focus on the inner part, and I'm going to switch my camera so you can see the entire thing. Alright, so as you can see, we have our fully done side, and then this one's a little bit shorter. And as you can see, this has a longer side, which that will be the front. and this will be the back that we attach our squares to. So what we're going to do is we're going to be crocheting along all of this back around, and we're going to do 2 rows on the back side. So we're going to go down and then back and then cut off, and then we're going to go back to the front and keep going down and back until we've done 4 extra rows. Alright, so I now have my cardigan turned to its side. The sleeve is over here facing me. So we are going to go starting here from the shoulder point. We're going to go all the way down around the bottom and then back up once, and then go back down around the bottom and then back up twice. So total, you're going to be doing 2 full rows going up and down. So we're going to attach our yarn. Our next color is black. This little chain space. Leave a bit of a tail to crochet over. Chain 3. And we're just going to do our regular 2 double crochet in the same spot to make our cluster. Alright, so we're just going to go down, around, back around. So it's going to be a full cluster round all the way around the opening part of your sweater. It's going to be like you're doing the hexagon again, just 3 parts of the hexagon instead of all 6, because we've done the other 3 to make the sleeve. Another corner stitch, so we're going to cluster. Oh geez. And then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to cluster again. So that is from the shoulder all the way to the bottom corner, and now we're going to do around the bottom and back up. So I will meet you once I am done at this point. Alright, so I have done I went down to the bottom, around, and back up. So I'm at this point here. So what we're going to do here is chain 3, and then we're going to cluster into this next space. So I'm going to flip it over, just so you guys can see a little better, and this is how I crochet anyway. So you chain 3, and then we're going to cluster and just keep working normally down the round. And then once you're done with this round, you're going to cut your color off, and I will meet you when I'm back here, so that you know what to do here. Alright, so we've done our 2 rows, 1 and 2, went down around the bottom, and then back up to the shoulder. So now we're at our end. So when we get to this point, we're going to double crochet into this chain 3 space. So we're going to double crochet at the top of this. Just to leave a little space for the next round. So now we're going to chain 1, grab our scissors, leave a small tail, and pull through. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the full sweater just so you can see them side by side and see what we need to do next. Alright, so as you can see, we've gotten the 2 rows done here, which means the back side is done, which is the one facing us right now. So we still have to do our 4 rows on the front, so it'll be on this side. So make sure that you put your garment side by side, whichever one you start with. It doesn't matter what side you do these 4 rows on. Just make sure that when you do the second side, you put them side by side so you know which side you need to work on. So for me, it's going to be that side, and we're just going to do from the top down and to the bottom. So we're no longer doing this side, just this and the bottom. Another thing that I wanted to explain was if you are making the sweater, you do not have to do this portion where you're adding rows to the front side, since this is just for the cardigan. And keep in mind, if you're doing the cardigan, you don't want to do too many rows in the front either, because you are going to add the ribbing to the front. So when you're doing the sweater, you're going to keep the back and the front side the same size, since you're going to be putting the middle squares to join. So you don't have to worry about doing an uneven amount of rows on the front. So yeah. And also, if you want more length, you can just go ahead and do the bottom and just keep going and going until you are happy with your length. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do 4 more rows on the front and the bottom. And then, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And we're going to be doing 2 rows of gray and 2 white for my pattern. You guys can do it however you're doing it so far. But yeah, so now we're going to attach our next color here on the front side, the back. This is the front. Make sure you double check your front and back side so that you're not upset later. Alright, so we're attaching our yarn on the front side to the space that we made between our double crochet that we made at the end and our cluster. Then we're chaining 3, making 2 double crochet, and we are following the pattern as usual. So we're doing a cluster in each space up until your corner space. You're going to do a corner space, cluster all the way around the bottom, back around the bottom, up, and we're going to be doing that for 4 rows. So this is our first of 4 rows that we're going to be doing that. Alright, so we've done from the shoulder all the way down, corner stitch, and now we're on the bottom. So now I'm at the end of the bottom and we are at our corner. So since we're not going to continue this, we are going to just do a cluster here. So 1 cluster in the corner, and then we're going to go back around, back down the bottom and up to the shoulder. So to do that, what we're going to do is chain 3, turn, and we're just going to keep continuing normally with the clusters all the way down our row until we reach. So we're going to go all the way back on the bottom, and then we're going to go, let me just turn this so that's a little easier to see. Alright, so this is the bottom. We're going to go all the way down and around, all the way down the row, and then we're going to go back up to the shoulder. And then when we finish here, we're going to double crochet into the top of the chain 3. Alright, so we've done our 2 rows here and done the bottom portion as well, and then none on this side, just the 2 that we started with. Now we are on the 2 of the 4, so now we're going to switch to our different color, to the white. And now that we are at the end, we're just going to double crochet into the top of this chain 3, just to make sure we keep that little space between the double crochet and the cluster. Then we're going to chain 1, cut your yarn, pull that to make a knot, make sure it's tight, and then we're going to attach our white yarn. We're going to pull this through, that's what I like to do anyway, leave a bit of a tail, chain 3, and I'm also just going to tie this to make sure that this does not come undone. Make sure it's a tight double knot. We're going to turn our work. We're going to continue again, another 2 rows, so we're just going to go from the shoulder all the way to the bottom, around the bottom, and then back. And then that'll be our 2 rows and we will be done. So just like before, I'm now at the end at the bottom. We're just going to do our cluster into this space. And then chain 3, turn, and then continue normally down the row back up to the shoulder. Alright, so we are now all finished. This is the bottom, and now we are at the top. So like I said, when you're done, you're just going to double crochet into the top of this chain 3. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Then we're gonna chain 1, cut your yarn, knot that, and we are all done. So now I'm gonna go put this against the other side so I can show you how it's looking. All right, so now as you can see, they're both the same size. We have the fronts on the bottom and the backs on the top. So now we are going to be making our squares that are going to go in the middle. Hey guys, so I'm going to start making my squares, but I'm not going to be doing tutorials on the squares in this video. I might make additional videos in the future on different squares, but for the time being I'm just going to put a playlist with a bunch of different granny squares that you can make right here. Feel free to click on those videos, support those creators because they make some awesome stuff, and then you can just measure the squares as you go along, make sure they're all the same size or as close as you can get them. And I feel like squares are usually about 4 by 4 inches, so just keep that in mind when you are measuring your sweater, that you're going to have about 4 inches or so in the middle. So not to go too far over or else your sweater's going to be really big, unless that's what you want, so yeah. Okay, so I'm now done with all of my squares. None of them turned out to be squares, except for this one and this one, but none of them are the same size. That's okay. They weren't the same size in my other sweater either. I just kind of wing it during this portion, so I like to figure out like what kind of pattern I want it to go in. I don't want these two, since they're the same color around, to be right next to each other, so I might do something like this. So moon on top, yin yang, mushroom, sun. I think that sounds good. So I just stack them in the order that I want them to go in so I don't forget, and have that stay to the side. I have my sweater here, shoulder is here, and this is the back side, the shorter side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place my squares in order going down this. I'm just going to get a stitch marker and go from the corner of this granny square into the corner here, and then just stitch marker that in place. You can either, I would recommend counting the stitches and then lining them up here. I kind of just eyeball it and hope for the best. I don't recommend that just because it makes it a little more difficult, but that's just what I like to do, so that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go back into this corner and kind of eyeball. This looks like a good place to stop, so I'm just gonna put it through this stitch, and then I'm gonna continue with the rest of my squares. So I think I'm gonna do it this way because it is quite long. I only have 4 squares. I might have to make another one, but I think I'm gonna do it like this. So using the same stitch marker, I like to just grab onto this corner here and then stitch marker that into place. That way I'm not wasting stitch markers. And then I'm going to go into this corner here, and this looks like a good place to stop. So far this is what we've got. These are both on attached, and we have our little mushroom. I'm going to reopen this and just slide the corner on. Attach that there, and then I'm going to grab this corner, and this looks like a good place, and I'm going to grab my last square and attach it here. So now I'm noticing I definitely I have not made it long enough, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to just turn this the other way and then replace the squares. So I'm going to turn this either like this. I think I like the white on top. I'm not too sure. So I'm going to do that, put that into place, and then I'm going to do this one, and then I'm just going to make another square put down here. So you're going to put that there, looks good here, put this corner on. And these are just to kind of have an idea of where they're going to go. We can obviously adjust as we go along, but yeah, it's just to kind of see if you like the pattern and make sure that you like where everything's placed before actually going ahead and sewing it. And it looks like I only have, my measuring tape here, I only have about 3 inches. So I can make like a 3-inch rectangle and then add that, and so I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Alright, so I've made my final little rectangle here. I don't have another stitch marker, so I'm just going to wing it and start at the end here. And I'm basically just going to teach you guys how to make the seamless. So grab your needle and a long tail of yarn. And what we're going to do is we're going to start on the corner here. We're going to start on the corner here, and we're going to go into the back loops only. So we're going to start from the bottom and then go in this is part of the previous, this is part of this double crochet, so we have 1 and 2 here. So we're going to go in through 1 and out through 2. Like so. All the way. And leave a bit of a tail. Just sliding down, so. Just gonna leave a bit of a tail, and then we're gonna go back in through 1 and out through 2, just to make sure it's in there and isn't gonna come apart. And just tighten that up. Perfect. All right, so the next step is to grab this corner here and do pretty much the same thing. So we're just going to go in through the back loop only of 1 and back out through 2. This time we won't be going back through though, we're just attaching. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in again, just so you guys can really see what I'm doing here. So the next step is, we just came out of this side, now we're going back into this. So we're gonna go in through the back loop of the one that we had gone through previously, but through the back. Come on, it's getting stuck on this little piece here. We're gonna go out through there. We don't have to pull too tight, because you'll see it, once we do pull it all together, it'll come together. And then we're gonna go through here to the next one, to the next stitch. Okay, then we're gonna go back over here and go through the back loop only of the same one that we went through, and through the next one. Back loop only. And now just so you can see what I mean by when you pull it, it'll come together. I'm gonna pull it, and I always like to pull or hold on to these ends, but right now I'm just gonna show you. When you pull it together, it's seamless, so you don't even, you barely see it at all. Okay, so now we just went through this side, so we're gonna go back over here, through this one that we went through, and through the next one, back loop only, and we're gonna just do back loop only the entire time. Pull a little bit through. Doesn't have to be super tight. And then we're gonna come through the back loop of this stitch here, and we're gonna go into this stitch here. And we're just gonna continue that all the way down the round, stitching our squares together, going into the same stitch that we were already in, and going out through the next one, back loops only. Going in through the ones we were in prior, and out. So this one's kind of difficult, so you're going to go through this back loop here. As you can see, this is a double crochet, so we're just going to go into this chain space. In and out the next. Back loops only the entire time. And you're just going to do that for every single stitch. And if you find that you are running low on stitches and you still have a few on your granny square or vice versa, try to just either go back into the same one and straighten it out a bit. It's very much trial and error that I've found with this, since there is not like an exact amount. I'm going to go into this back loop here for these double crochets. As you can see, I'm not pulling very tight. There's still plenty of yarn in between. Back through the same one, and through the next. So you can see this is my next chain, and you would think this is the back loop, but it is not. So you're going to turn it upwards, and you're going to find the chain that is behind it. So we have this normal view. You're going to turn it upwards towards you and find the V, and that is the back loop. So make sure you're always going through this back loop. Right, same one, next one, remembering to always go through the back loop. Okay, so now that we're getting to our corner space, we're going to go back into the same loop, and I have 2 chains, so I want to go through each one of these, and that will be our corner. So we're going to go through the first one, back over here, down here, next one, and then so that's one of our 2. We want to get to this next one as well, so we're going to go back through this and into the next one, And that will complete our entire square portion, or at least this square portion. And then you just keep going along here. Alright. And now we can pull again to make the seamless look. And there you have it. You have a seamless join. And there you go. So you're going to continue this whole thing all the way down, and I'll show you how to get started on the next corner as well, so you guys aren't lost. So we are still on this side now, and we're going to go in. So we have this one attached to this double crochet, which is here. This one's the one attached. Zoom in again. So we have the double crochet, which we're not going to go into. We're going to count 1 and 2, and we're going to go in through the back of the second one and out through the front of the second one. So back loops only. And then, so we're going to do this whole line down first, and then we will continue to do these lines here. So we're coming back into the same one and out the next one. It might make it easier to take your stitch marker off of your square. It's mainly just for when you want to see kind of how it's going to look, but it might get in your way as you're going along since it's kind of taut. So yeah, you can decide whether or not you want to do that, but just keep going along and joining the same way, and I'll meet you at the end. Alright, so we're at a point that I thought I could kind of show you guys where you might need to go back into the same stitch. So usually on the cardigan you're going to have less stitches than on your granny square. So I'm just going to count them so you guys can see. So we have the one that we're in right now is this, and we're going to go back into that, so I'm going to count it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's where I'd like to stop. All right, and then we have on this side, this is the last one we were in that we're going to go back into. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's a lot more on the granny square as usual. So when that happens and you've gotten through going in these evenly, what you're going to do is just pull and make that tight. All right, so that it's the seamless look. And since they're not matching up, what we're going to do is we're going to go not back into this same stitch over here. We're going to actually go into the next one over and back out the next one. Right. Then we are going to go back into this one that we came out of and go into the next one. Right. So you're kind of going to just skip the one that we were previously in and go into the next one instead. That way we are not too far off, and we're going to do that again in this next one. So I go in the next one, not in the one we were in previously. All right, and see how that's like more even now. So now I feel more comfortable continuing as normal. So we're going to go back into the same one, out the next. All right, and go back into the same one, out the next. And it still looks off. We have about, we're going to go back into this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to continue as normal for right now on this side. And we are going to skip one more. So we're going to go into the next one, not back into the same one from that side, and out the next. So just kind of like as you go along, make sure you're evening it out so that it stays where you want it to stay on your cardigan. And yeah, then you should be able to continue as normal. I'm just going to unclip this so it's easier to work. And just leave it there so I know which one I'm going to finish in. Going back into the same one, out the next. Into the same one, out the next. Into the same one. Oh, that came out of the like middle of the front, so I don't want that. So I'm going to go back fix that by just going like this. That way it's only coming from the back loop and then out the next. Make sure it's never on the front loop so that you can visibly see that it's not there. Right into the old and out of the new. Alright, and now we are on our last chain space. So in this one I only have one, so we're just going to go into that last one. So into the old, out of the next. And that's going to be our corner, and that's it for this square. And then to finish it off, just going into this one, taking this out, putting that there. And before I start my next square, I'm always just going to pull so that it's nice and seamless. And there we are. Seamless. Perfect. So now that we are on this stitch, which is the same one that was attached, we're going to attach it to this stitch here. So we are going to go into this stitch here, the corner stitch, strictly through the back loop only and out the next. And you're just going to keep going all the way up. It doesn't have to be too tight because you're going to pull it later anyway. It's just going to be that seamless finish. So now that you know how you need to kind of even it out as you go along, hopefully that makes it a little easier for you. It's basically just eyeballing it. There's no like specific formula. Like clearly this one has way more stitches than this side. So I'm going to have to like skip a majority of going back ins and just go into the next one for the most of these, it looks like. So skipping. And then going back into the same one for this side. I'm going to skip this one and into the next one here. And I'm just leaving like this so that you can see that you don't need it to be super tight at the beginning, just to make it a little easier for yourself. Going back into the same one, out the next. And it is looking pretty even right now, but there is just a significantly more on this side. So I'm just going to keep on skipping instead of going into the same one. Just going to skip the previous stitch that we were in and go into the next and out of the following. You can wait to get through your whole granny stitch, or you can go midpoint and then pull. I like to go like middle to a little bit more and then pull because I don't want to go too far either. It just makes it a little harder to pull all of it good. But yeah, there's your seamless finish. And then once we're done with this whole side, I'm almost done here. I just have this last square. So once I'm done with this whole side, we'll go this way and then we'll attach the other side of the cardigan the same way. Alright, so I'm now fully done. I knotted off and basically just weaved in between my end. And now we are going to be going this way. So I'm going to grab a strand of yarn, my needle. We are going to grab this corner here that's attached. So we're going to grab this little piece here that's attached. As you can see. We're going to go through there. I'm going to go out the next. Gosh. There we go. I like to make a little knot here. Just to make sure that doesn't come undone, I do a double. Alright. I'll just stick that down there for now, just so it's out of the way. And we're going to go into, so this one you can't really see where it's attached because it's already been seamlessly put in, so we're just going to go into this next one here and out the next here. So we're just going to do the exact same thing that we've been doing. These are a little bit easier to match up because they do have similar amounts of stitches here, so they're a little easier to match up. Oh my gosh, so yeah, you're just going to keep going in and out, weaving like usual. So as you can see, this is getting quite short now, so I'm going to start pulling it now, even though I'm not at the end. I just love seeing how the yarn goes through. So holding me, and I definitely like to hold on to this so that it doesn't move. And just make sure that you get every single piece of yarn to get. You can see them through the stitches, so make sure that you get all the way down, get that seamless look. And now you have so much more yarn again. So just keep on working till you get to the end. I'm literally like 2 or 3 stitches away from the end, which is hilarious, but we made it. And this is my last stitch since I had the 2 chain 2 here. So I like to make sure I go through both of those little chains. And that is it. And so I'm going to show you how to tie it up, or how I tie it up, but make sure you pull. Alright, perfect. So what I like to do is I like to go back into my last stitch, back loop only. So you go back through here, through the back, and then through this back. Alright. And if you should be able to, but you can see that you will make a knot, I would go through this and make that little knot there. And then I pull until it's about this long or so, maybe even shorter. About as long as the needle. And then I'll cut there. And then I will weave through the back. So I will just go through these back loops wherever I can get it to go in. Just to make sure that it's not going to come out. And I try to get it so that my whole needle is covered. So right there seems like a good amount, and then I pull this end so that it's not so long. I cut it even shorter. There's not so much that we need to weave in. And once your needle's in there, you just pull this through and hold on to the edge. And there you go. That's it. So then you're going to repeat that for every square, and I'll meet you back when these are all attached to each other. Alright, so I'm now at the point where these are all attached, as you can see. So I'm going to flip this over. I just have it all folded up to make it easier on me. And now we're going to grab our other side. Remember, I'm doing the shorter side to the back, just because I'm going to be doing the ribbing here. So I'm doing the shorter end to attach here. And because I already have these all in place, I'm not going to worry about clipping them into place. That was mainly just to see the pattern and see if I like it that way. So yeah, so we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. Alright, so as we can see, both of my sides are now attached fully. So this is done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the ribbing around the neck. We're going to do the sleeves. I'm going to start with the sleeves just to make it a little easier for you guys to see like the process. And then we'll move on to the bottom and the neck. Start at the corner here in one of the spaces. Pull this through. Leave a bit of a tail. I'm going to chain 3, or actually I'm going to chain, I think I'm going to do 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, I might just do 9. Alright, and we're going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook, and single crochet all the way down. We're just single crocheting all the way down. These 8 stitches. You can make your length of your cuff shorter if you wish, or longer if you wish. I feel like I made the cuffs on the green sweater a little bit shorter, and I kind of wanted a little more length. So for this one, I'm adding a few more. I believe the one on the cuff I did 6 instead of the 8 that we're doing now. Let me just double check that that's not too many. So we should have 8 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Just gonna pull that tight. So once we reach the end here, what we're going to do is I like to slip stitch 1, 2. Now if you don't want it to cinch too much, I would recommend just doing the 2, but I like a really cinched cuff, so I'm going to do 3 slip stitches. Alright, I'm going to turn. I'm going to go back up in the back loops only. Zoom in even more here. So now we're going to go back loop only and single crochet into each of these spaces. And also having the bigger hook just makes it easier, in my opinion, and work up a little quicker as well. So that right at the end. Just double checking that I do have my 8. I'm going to chain 1, but we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in our chain 1, turning again, and going back down, back loop only. I feel like half double crochet will make the ribbing look more full if that's more of what you're looking for. I just like how quick single crochet works up and that it takes less yarn. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 1 more to go. So this last one here. Perfect. And we're going to slip stitch 3. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go back in and go up. Go. And doing the slip stitch 3 times also basically goes for each cluster. You have 2 rows, so if that like helps you, I know I like to count how many rows I have left, and if not, then no worries. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we were slip stitched in this one, so we're going into the next 1, 2, 3, and then we continue the pattern in the back loops only. So this is how you're going to make the ribbing throughout the entire cardigan, and when I reach the end, I will show you how to join. Alright, so I'm at the end here. I did my 3 slip stitches here, and I just have to go up and then we'll join here. So I'm going to single crochet in each one normally. And now when we're going back down, we're going to be joining. So in order to join, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the back loop of the first stitch, and we're going to try to get into, because this is a chain, we're just going to get into the chain. And we're just going to slip stitch all the way down. So back loop only, and we're going to slip stitch into the chain. And you're just going to go like this all the way down the row. This yarn is just like really hairy for some reason. Alright. Get in there, slip stitch. Last one, last chain, and slip stitch. Then we're going to chain 1, clip our yarn, pull it, knot it, and then you can pull it through. I'm going to use a smaller hook just to make it easier to pull through. And then you can just weave that into these. And then you can clip whatever is excess. But yeah, I just like to weave it into the cuff itself, and there you go, that's our cuff. It is still bigger than I'd like it to be, so I would recommend, if you're doing quite a large sleeve, to do slip stitch 4, or even 5, and then continue, because, I don't know, I feel like this isn't, it's still very loose, but that's okay. So, alright, so to start the next portion, I personally want to do half and half. So this side is going to be black ribbing, this side is going to be pink, or this color, I'm not sure yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count the stitches here and go into the middle point and mark it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 total stitches. So since it's an even number, that's going to be kind of annoying, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you would want it to be here in the middle. That's okay, we're just kind of going to go a little bit under and mark that midpoint. That way we know black starts here, pink starts here, just so that we don't lose track of that. And once you have that marked, you can either start here and work your way around and down, or you can start at a corner here and then come back this way, just because you probably will want your collars ribbing to maybe be a little shorter. It just depends on your preference. So yeah, I think I'm going to start at this corner and go down and around to the bottom. I'm also going to mark the midpoint on the bottom of the cardigan because I am doing the half and half, but if you're not, this is not a necessary step for you. So now I'm pulling up the bottom I'm going to do the same thing. So we have 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is our midpoint. That's more annoying because I guess we can start both of our ribbing here. So yeah, when we join, we'll want to join into this space. Alright, so you're going to repeat the exact same steps that we did for the cuff, except we're not doing the 3 slip stitches. We're only going to do 2 slip stitches, just because that is like the normal way to do ribbing without it cinching. So you're going to go ahead and do your ribbing normally with just 2 slip stitches this time. Alright, so now we're going to start doing the collar. I'm going to start here. So yeah, I'm just going to go into this stitch here. I'm going to be doing my pastel side, so I'm going to be doing black for that. I'm going to chain 7. I'm going to single crochet the second stitch from the hook, second chain from the hook, and we're going to single crochet all the way down, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Tighten that up. And we're going to slip stitch 2 this time. And we're going to go into the back loops only again, so don't think this is big. 1, 2, see in here. Stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6. Chain 1, turn, and then go back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And slip stitch. 2 over, 1, and 2. Back up. Alright, so I finished the ribbing from my midpoint at the top all the way around. This is the bottom corner up until the midpoint at the bottom. And this is the midpoint here. So if you are not switching colors, this won't really matter to you. But if you are, this may just help you. So if you're at this point where you still have 1, so that's 1 chain till your midpoint. So that is the midpoint. I'm in this one already from before. I think I may have slip stitched. Yeah, so I slip stitched into the first one. Or is this the second one? I'm so confused. Yes, this is the first one. I'm going to slip stitch into this middle here. I want them in this middle. I'm going to go up and down once more. Alright, and once I've reached the top here, I'm going to finish my single crochet, but I'm not going to chain 1. I'm going to cut my yarn. And I'm going to join with my other yarn that I'm going to be doing the other half with, that we're going to be continuing with. So we're going to use that to do the chain 1. And then we are going to pull really tight on the black, or whichever yarn you were just using, and tie a knot. So once you've joined that, you're going to continue normally down each stitch. Oh gosh. Here. Back loops only like usual. And I'm going to be crocheting over my tails. So you can see it's a little bit noticeable, but not too bad. I pulled it a little more and now it's better. So there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then I'm going to undo my marker, and I'm going to go back into that same stitch, just so that it really meets at the middle point. So we're in this stitch here, and we're going to slip stitch right there. And then slip stitch 1 more, like we have been the whole time. And then we're going to just keep going all the way around until you have finished your whole, until you meet the other half, if that's what you're doing. If not, then just continue normally as you have been. But I just wanted to make it easier for you guys to join. We're going to be doing this exact same method at the top, but I will meet you when I get there. Alright, so I've done from the middle point on the bottom all the way around the bottom. This is the bottom edge corner. And because I'm doing the cardigan, if you're doing the sweater, you're just going to skip this, but because I'm doing the cardigan, I do want buttons. So every 8 rows, I started from the corner, every 8 rows I'm making a little hole basically just to fit a button. So I'm going to teach you how to do that now. I'm on my 8th row, as you can see. This is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So on the 9th row, what you're going to do, at least this is how I'm doing it. You can see how many rows you'll need for yours. Just make sure it fits a good amount of buttons for you. So I'm going to go into the first 2. So normally single crochet into the first 2. Then I'm going to chain 2. Then I'm going to normally single crochet in the last 2. Alright, chain 1 and turn. So that is our little hole. And then you're going to normally single crochet for 8 rows. So 1. And you're going to go into the back loops only, of course. That is row 8, chain 1. Now in row 9, I'm going to normally single crochet into the first 2. Chain 2. Normally single crochet into the last 2. And just keep on going this pattern until you've gotten to your corner at the top. So I've got a little ways to go. Alright, so we're here at the end. So now it's time to attach these. So what we're going to do is go into the back loops like normal, and then just try to attach this to the corresponding chain. Right, and then we're going to slip stitch. Go. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 1. Snip it. Oh, make sure it's really tight. The other side, and then we're going to leave that end in. And voila, you should be done, unless you are also putting in buttons like I am. Your entire ribbing finally be complete. So we have our collar here. So cute. I love the way that it came out with the opposite side colors. I'm so excited to try it on and show you guys. But first, I'm going to attach my buttons. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Alright, here's my bag of buttons. If I'm not mistaken, we got 2 here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, this one's like ugly. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This one's probably 2, 8, 7. Perfect. So these are gonna be my buttons. Alright, so now that I've got my 7 that I needed, I just want to make sure that I have the same amount of rows between so that they line up properly. So what I'm going to do is go to the corner and count from the corner row of each side. So I'm going to count starting here, the furthest over. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4 has the buttonhole. So on this one, the furthest is here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want to put it about here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark the row that it's on so that I don't forget and just have that marked. I'm going to try to do that for each one. So once we have that one, we have the 8 in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. So this is the row that it should be on. It's on every 9th. I'm just going to use the gold thread that I have because it's extra and I like that. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're using. So I'm just grab a little bit of this thread and thread my needle. Got that now. Alright, got a good knot, it looks like. And I'm going to get started. I wish I knew where we were at. So I'm just going to count back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So it should be around here. Yep, that looks about right. I'm just going to go in through the front, and I'm going to go into not the hole, but the actual thread itself so that it stays in place. So I'm going to go into that to make sure that it doesn't just go straight through. Alright. Now we are going to go back out the front here, also going through the thread, the yarn. We're going to put this here. Alright. We're going to go into the yarn again, just to make sure it stayed in place. We're just going to be going back and forth into this button, making sure that it goes through the yarn each time. I'm just going to go a few times to make sure that it's really secured, because I don't want the buttons to fly off right away. I want to make sure that these stay on, so I'm going to go quite a few times, as many as I can fit, honestly. Putting it in different spots just to make sure it's really in there. Oh, just like, even if it's not, just making sure that it's staying in there. Alright, and I feel like that's a good amount. Like, clearly it's not coming off. It's pretty secure there, so we're just gonna tie this off real good. I am not a professional sewer by any means, so if anyone knows how to do this better, do it better, because I am not claiming to do this perfectly whatsoever. I just made a small knot there. I'm gonna try to make another one by going through that again. And going through this loop as well. Alright, and once that's nice and taut, I'm just gonna kind of go underneath and come out the other side through the bottom, like so. Pull it through, and I'm gonna cut pretty close to the button here. There we go. Cut this little strand as well, just so it's not sticking out from underneath. Come on, just cut. Thank you. Alright, and there's our first button. So you're just going to repeat that for all of your buttons, stitch markering where they need to go, and then sewing them on, and then I will meet you at the end.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. This video took a lot of time and effort to make, so please give it a like, comment, a share, subscribe for more, because I'm going to be having videos weekly or bi-weekly at the latest. Both of these sweaters will be up on my Etsy, so please feel free to check those out and buy one if you want it. I'll show you guys how the green one turned out here at the end, but I hope this tutorial was easy to follow. Let me know what you guys want to see next down below, and have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me today. Also, Carl wants your soul.